So the next thing is how you then use markers. So markers are up here. You notice I've got one set up, North Norfolk Railway, and it's got these things on it. Now I can actually switch them on. You can see this pin's just appeared here. And then if we go to, I can say go to Holt, and then click play, and you can see it's jumped me to over here. And there is Holt Station down there. And there's the marker, and there's the track, and the track continues north. And then the next place the track goes to is Weybourne, which we'll see in a moment as it loads. There it is, there's Weybourne and the depot, where they look after all of their trains. And Sheringham is then over there. Look, you can see it over there. So, as I said, if you've got the terrain set really low, you are going to get it where the Google overlay, you're going to get it where it bleeds through. If it does, then just pull it up a bit so that it doesn't do that. It's because the Google Maps overlay uses the same size squares as Google provide them in, which is not necessarily the same size as the squares of your terrain. So if your terrain is doing funky things, then it won't work. Well, it works, but it's just slightly different. You can see that it's just a little layer over the top. So markers. We've just put some marker. I've just shown you the markers I did earlier. Yes, Holt is the other station that we looked at just down here. This is Holt, so it's Sheringham, Weybourne, and Holt. Fringe Starling, do you think this terrain importing will include Camden Bank? I've got no idea. The only thing you can do is have a look. How do you disable markers from other asset packs? I don't know if there is a way of doing it, if I'm perfectly honest. So, let me switch it back over to changing route for just a minute, and I'm going to get myself sorted out for how I show you how to do this. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. Actually, the first step is Google Earth. Now, there are tools out there which will help some of this process for you. They will, RW Tools will, yes, Deadly Dorito, there's 4. One of them is a Holt, I can't remember the name of it, and it's somewhere between Weybourne and Holt, if I remember rightly. Yes, so there are tools like RW Tools which will help some of this, but what I wanted to do is show you how to use this without using RW Tools. And then if you want to then use RW Tools, you'll know what it's doing, and then you'll be understand it much easier. RW Tools does make it very easy. It does most of the work for you. The first step is always going to be to generate the markers that you want, though. So what I'm going to do is, and this is done using pins. So let us add a pin, and we put that where we want it to be. So this is going to be called, I'm going to call this one TSL Sheringham, and there it is. That's that marker just placed in here. And then we're going to come along here. Oh, is that a choo-choo train? Looks like a choo-choo train. I can't remember where that Holt is. There's Weybourne. So let's put a marker in for Weybourne. So again, you click the pin, move the pin where you want it to be, and we'll call that TSL Weybourne. Another steam engine there, you can see the smoke coming off it. And we're coming down to Holt now. There it is. So we'll add another waypoint in here, or another marker here for Holt. So Holt. And let's just add another couple of interesting points of interest out. So this is where we're crossing a road. So we'll put. You don't really need to worry too much about these ones. It used to be that you marked all bridges. So we're going to call that one a road crossing. And I think that will do. Yep, that'll do. Right, so we've got some markers placed now. We've just used the standard tools for doing that, and here you can see them over here, the 4 ones that I've just added. So I'm going to create a new folder, add a folder, and I'm going to call it TSL NNR because it's the North Norfolk Railway. And then what I'm going to do is drag and drop my new markers into that folder. So they're now in there, and I'm going to export that by doing save place as. It sometimes defaults to KMZ. You want it to be KML file, and I'm going to dump it on the desktop because that makes sense. Right, we've now done with Google Earth. Should you do depots as well? What markers you put down is entirely up to you, and what you will find is that you will feel the benefit from some markers and not on others, and it's up to you. Really, it's down to you to work out what is useful information. Bearing in mind, if you're using Google Earth, you have all of this actually in the game itself anyway, so you don't need to worry too much about it. Oh look, there's the crossing that we modelled. Sorry, the car park that we modelled. Woohoo! So you may find markers actually don't help you too much, and you just want minimal. You may find you want to do tremendous numbers of markers. So what used to be the case was that you'd sit there and you'd actually place the markers here, and then you do another marker. And you just pin loads of pins all the way down the track, and then you'd import those, and you get this lovely path showing where the track is. If you're not using Google Earth, then you might want to use a megaton of markers just to help you out. But we're going to use Google Earth. Or we're actually not going to make the route because I'm not very good at making routes. Right, so we have saved this file out and we can now do stuff with it. Now, I'm going to minimize that and I'm going to come out of the game because we've got stuff to do outside of the game and we need it to be not confused. So let's come out of there and out of there. Right. So, I can get rid of that for the minute. I can get rid of that for the minute. I can get rid of that for the minute. So tslnnr.kml, this is the file that we downloaded. Cameron's Gaming, what do you do for fictional routes? We do what you like for fictional routes, because the markers are there for telling you about the real world. So if you're copying the real world, then you use the markers and something like that. If you're doing a fictional route, it's entirely up to you. Now what you might do is use a real route as the basis, put markers down for certain things, and then just use the markers to guide you. Yeah, this is about real routes, so if you're not creating a real route, then Google Earth won't help you because it's about Earth. Yeah, that's the scenario I never birthed, isn't it? So I'm going to use Excel for the next section, for the next bit. So if you've got Excel, then you can use that. I believe if you haven't got Excel, you can probably use OpenOffice to do the same thing. And I'm just going to drag and drop the file, this TSLNNR, over here. It says it doesn't match. I don't care. It's an XML table, and it says it doesn't match, but it just works, so I don't care. Stop being awkward. Right. In this file, we have 3 rows which we want. Now, you could just pull this out manually by editing the file directly, but that's what we want. So I am going to take that and put it in a new sheet, and you also need to make sure that the file is in the right format, and I've forgotten what the right format is. It is in... Hang on. Bear with me, folks. This is the last tutorial. For those of you who are getting bored of the tutorials, then we'll be back to some driving very shortly, in fact. Right, route markers. Right, so we need these 2 first, and then the name last. So let's put those back up there. So you want these in this order, so that's the is that the latitude? Yes, the longitude. So it's the long first, then the lat, and then the name, and that's it. And what we need to do is just save that out as what's called a comma-separated file. So if we save as on the desktop, and we call it a text comma delimited CSV comma delimited CSV file. and I'm going to call that one with TSL_NNR.CSV CSX. So we save that out, and it's complaining. It's okay. Do you want to keep using that format? Yes. Right, so we can minimize that out of the way now. We've now got this new file. So if I just bring that up in Notepad, then you can see what we have actually. All we've created is this. So, and you could create this by hand if you want to. There's no reason why not. So it's a longitude followed by a latitude followed by the name you want to assign it. So that's how we've grabbed that information out of Google Earth. Right, so what do you do with that information? This is where it gets a little bit messy, and this is where RW Tools will help you out if you want to go down that route. So what I've done is I've already created. I'm just trying to work out how I clean this up. Then I can redo it so that you can see me doing it. Hold on a second, folks, while I just clean this. I get rid of that. Get rid of that. I know you can't see this. That's kind of the point. I'm going to get rid of. Actually, I'm just going to move that one out of the way in case I need to refer to it, and that one. Right, now, if you remember, I created this based on the West Somerset route template. That's really, really important to remember. Whatever route template you used is where you need to put your markers. Fringe styling, could you just type the Latin long in a notepad file without all the spreadsheets? You absolutely could. It's just a bit more typing, that's all. BNSF, what is this tutorial for? So this is about creating markers and getting markers to load into it. Now the markers have another benefit where you saw me jumping around the route. Araman, yes, this is going on to YouTube as long as it works. So I used the West Somerset ground texture collection, I think is what they called it in the game. And what that actually also means is that it's going to pull assets from RSC West Somerset. So I need to create, under Railworks, you see where we created the DEM and the SRTM, we also need to create a source folder, and underneath that create RSC and create West Somerset. And inside there we create route markers, and inside there we put our CSV file. Oh, I've got Excel running at the moment. Let's close Excel. Oh, just shush. Try again. Right. So we have our CSV file sitting in there, and we need to tell Railworks how to use that. So we need to come back to the main folder and run everyone's favourite tool. I know you all groan when you see it because it's all complicated and stuff, and that's the blueprint editor. So if we see we've got source, and we expand RSC, West Somerset, and route markers, and there is our file. And what we need to do is right click on that file and do export this only. And then it says export succeeded. So that's created a file in the binary side of the executable side of the game. That's half the job. The next part is we need to right click on route markers. Fringe styling, could you make your own folder in the source folder? If you do that, you can't upload it to Steam Workshop, but yes, you could. You'll also need to put all of your route assets in there. Well, no, you need to put. Yes, you could just make your own folder, but then you can't put it on Steam Workshop. So in here, we right-click on route markers, click Add, and click New Item. We're going to click Blueprint, and then we're going to find GPS marker set blueprint, and let's just call that TSL_NNR.xml. Inside here, I'm going to create an English name of Train Sim Live Norfolk Railway, and that's the group that's displayed at the top of the collection of markers in that top right hand thing. Flag blueprint. You can use all sorts of different ones for this, but I'm going to use the one from West Somerset, and you can use it no matter what set you use. You can use this; it should work. Let me find my instructions. But what you'll find is that in whatever set you use, if you look in the route markers inside the AP file, you'll find that there is a flag thing that that you can use. So in this instance, it is RSC West Somerset, and it is route markers route marker _pin.xml. That's already part of West Somerset Railway. We're not going to create that. We're just using it. Minecart, I'll answer that question at another time. That's not really relevant to what I'm doing. Right, name GPS markers. Now you need to tell it where that CSV file is. This tslnnr.csv. So in that instance, it's in route markers / tsl-nnr.csv. So that's it. So there's two types of markers. There's named markers, which give you the pins, the flags, whatever, in each position. And then there's these series markers files. And what that will do is instead of giving you a flag, it will actually draw a line. And it used to be that was how, before, again, Google Earth, what you'd do is you'd put all the pins down and then tell it was a series marker, and then it would draw all the lines. So instead of seeing markers all over the route, you'd actually see track. Essentially, you'd see lines where all the track needed to be laid. But for doing location jumps, if what you want is a marker that just lets you jump into different parts of a route, then that's a named marker. And that's what I'm showing today. So if we press Control S to save that, the little star disappears off the top. Again, we now right click on our XML file, export that, and do export this only, and make sure it says export succeeded. Now, all being well, that's it. We're now done, and when we come in the game, it'll all work, we'll be happy, and we can get on with some driving. Now, do we think that will happen? Right. Let me switch it back to that just for a minute, let the game come along. Have I ever thought of doing a creative stream designated to building routes and stuffs? I'm not particularly good at building routes and stuffs, so because it requires the creative stuff. So, like, I understand the technology, I understand the techniques. I'm really not that good at the sort of like placing scenery and stuff. That's where it all starts to look a bit 2-year-old crayon type badness. In fact, 2-year-old with crayons could probably do a better job. So, yes, I have a lot of messages on Steam. Everyone wants me as their friend. So in here then, I need to find the build menu. Let me just make sure that there's nothing here I can't edit that. Right, now I can go back to here. Right, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Let me just come back up here. You can see where we put our houses, and we've got our track, and we've got our lovely car park. That looks superb, doesn't it? If I now click on the anchor, this little route marker symbol up here, Train Sim Live, North Norfolk Railway. I'm letting off a little here when it all works. Then you've got the 4 waypoints we've added in. Now you can't see them in the route yet, but there's this thing on the bottom left here. If you can't see these, by the way, it might be because they've disappeared off and you need to slide them out, in which case just pin them up. This route markers, if you tick that box, there it is. Hang on a minute. Sorry, folks. Big sneeze. I didn't think you'd want that one murdering your ears. So at this point, what you've actually got is you've got all these markers. You can click one of these markers, and you can click this little play button, and it will zoom you over to it. So that's Sheringham. We click Halt. This is the Halt marker. So this is where Halt goes. And if we press Ctrl G, and it loads it up, you can see there it indeed is Halt. So it's moved us roughly into the right location. Now, one of the reasons that you'll see when you run a route using, and I've got that map following thing. One of the reasons that you generally see the route not following the track is because it was built with markers, because the resolution, the precision of the markers isn't particularly good. They are quite rough. Whereas if they're built with actually using the overlay, it's obviously going to be a lot more accurate. So I wouldn't recommend personally building the route by following the markers. I would do it using the Google Earth overlay. But you can use the two to help you sort of jump around a bit. So again, if we click road crossing, we click that, then somewhere down here there should be a road crossing. There it is. So there is our settings and so forth. So that's the markers. In fact, there's the marker there. Look. Okay, so that's route markers. Route markers also help you with. Sorry, can there be route markers with the default template? Well, every route has markers. Every route has markers. So whichever one you choose, you should be able to look inside the AP file and find what markers it's got. And then you can use whatever. So they don't all come with pins. Some of them come with big flags and other things. So you can choose which ones you want to use. Moggy, but this is an official map route. Yeah. Let's head back to Sheringham, and we just want to. There's been some comment about my glorious track. It's quite spectacular, isn't it? It's the next roller coaster. Okay, so we've done the markers. Now those markers are also used elsewhere. So if I come out of here, let me come back to. Does the imported elevation actually show a gap under that road overpass? No, it's shadowing. It's because the shadowing is all part of the imagery. So you can you can see from the shadowing where things go over and under each other. You can see from the shadowing generally where cuttings are and so forth. Elton Loveridge, can you edit route markers? Yes, just edit that CSV file, re-export it with the Blueprint editor, and boom, done. Boom, done, he says, getting all excitable. Right, so if I come out of here and I go, let me just go back to changing route a minute. I'll come into the build menu. The other thing I was going to show you is when you create a new scenario on this route. So having made this route and been all impressed with what we've done, we then say we want to create a scenario, and oops, that one. What you'll notice is that the set location route origin now has all of our marker file are actually now also usable in the set location for your scenario. So if you set up the GPS markers, it's also useful for other people who have your route. Now bear in mind, if you want to publish it on Workshop, it won't include these markers. Yeah, markers can't get uploaded for Workshop. Someone's just BNSF's just can a route with imported terrain be published on Workshop? Yes, it can be, because it doesn't. Those HGT files are just dragged in and used, and then they're not part of the route. So yes, this is the other place the markers are used. Then is to help people do this and set the route up, and it can be good for you as well. Right, I think I'm done actually. So that's 3 tutorials, and they've all worked. I'm impressed. First tutorial was DEM data, height maps, terrain elevation data. Don't tell me we've just got transcoding. So using Viewfinder panoramas, download the data, put it in the right folder, get your latitude and longitude origin, and then just import the data. Second tutorial then was to enable Static Maps API on Google Earth, set that up in the settings so that you can enable Google Earth very easily, and some of the options then on how you tune it. And then the last thing we looked at was marker files, how you use Google Earth to create the KML file, convert the KML file to a CSV file, and then export that so that it can be used inside the game. As I also mentioned a couple of times, RW Tools will do some of those steps for you. It'll take the KML file and produce the other bits and put them in sort of I think the right places. I don't quite know exactly how it does it, but it's essentially automating some of those steps. So now you know what it's doing, it'll make more sense to you if you look at it. RW Tools is very, very powerful, but if you press the wrong buttons you can do a lot of damage with it as well, because it is extremely powerful. So read the manual. If I remember rightly, it comes with a massive manual. Use it, read it, and you'll benefit from it. But as I've just shown, you don't need it. You can quite happily do it without that if you're prepared to do the manual steps. Why are stuff for TS 2015 so complicated? Believe it or not, that's not complicated. Could you maybe show us someday how to repaint station assets? Possibly. I'm trying to stick to stuff that people can mostly use to create workshop content, and they can't use that for workshop content. So, but I might do something about reskinning at some point in the future. Okay. Right, it's time to get to driving some trains, I think. Let me switch back to changing route. So was that useful, folks? I hope that was useful. And I'm certainly quite pleased that all 3 tutorials worked. After the horrific tutorial with I did with Realistic AI, I've been dreading doing more tutorials. Okay, so have I ever thought of doing a creative stream designated to building routes and stuff? I thought I answered that, sorry Dave. Yes, I haven't thought about it, but to be honest, I do so little creative stuff that it's not really that interesting. And I can't generally do the creative stuff because, as I said before, a 2-year-old with a crayon can do probably a better job of making a route than I can. But I understand the techniques and technology and so forth. Cameras Gaming, can you not use station signs? You can use anything that is already an asset in another route. If you want to create your own station signs or reskin, which is essentially making your own, then it's oh, the map thing. Yes, sorry, Moggy, I'll have a look at that in a minute. If you're creating reskins of station signs, then you've got other problems. You're creating new assets, which means you're in your own asset folder, or you're using in an asset folder which you then nobody else will have because you can't upload assets to Steam Workshop. Right, so let me just jump into another route, and I'll just show you how to do. So Moggy's just asked a question a little while ago about how you jump around in a route to find other locations. So I'm actually going to edit Academy. So this is TS Academy route I'm just loading up at the moment in the route editor. Just wait for that to load. Dum 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 dum. Right. So welcome to Academy and the building. How many people have actually seen the building, by the way? It's not really featured anywhere, and there's so much work went into making this building. I think it's epic. Absolutely epic. And then you've got the various training areas around the place. So, if we press the 9 key and have a look at the you can see this is where we're looking at. This is the central area, and these are our training areas. So, at the moment we are at this latitude and longitude. And let's say I want to have a look at this turntable. So I zoom into where I want it, and I press the control key down, and then I click somewhere. You see how it moves, and it centers that to the middle. It's also updated the latitude and longitude here. If I now press this play button up here, it will jump me to that location. There you go. Let's do that one more time. So if I press the 9 key, and let's say we want to go and have a look at what's going on with these junctions. Yeah, let's have a look at something going on here. So I'm going to control click, and it will move. It's updated lat and long. I press the play key, and then come out, and there's all these junctions. So we can have a look at that. Does that answer the question, Moggy? Is that what you were looking for? So you basically control click somewhere on the map. So let's go to the middle here, press the play key, and then come out, and there we are, we're at the middle. Right, BNSF, was Academy based on anything? No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It's purely designed. It's been designed specifically to help teach and allow an environment for learning how to do stuff. For learning how to drive each of the trains. So it's highly artificial, but very effective actually. Very effective. Okay, so that's that Moggy may start weeping. Okay, changing route then. Right, so it's time to get driving trains. So this scenario that I'm going to do now, I originally planned in for the last time we did a stream, which was what is it now? Friday. So we did one yesterday. So it was going to be yesterday then. I decided against it because I thought that'd be stupid, given the time. So it's 11:25, so it's probably stupid tonight. But we're going to do it anyway. How long did it take to make Academy? I don't know. I wasn't involved. It took a while because a lot of the effort is in all the scenarios. The route I don't think took a tremendous